of the first things I did as a member of Congress was visit the southern border to expose what was going on there. And basically, President Biden has allowed the drug cartels to run our southern border. We are seeing record individuals being smuggled over the border, but also we're seeing drugs. Fentanyl, as you know, is now the leading cause of deaths in a new report among 18 to 45-year-olds. So we could talk about COVID, but among that age group, it is fentanyl, and that stuff is pouring over our border. The drug cartels are making billions and billions of dollars a month just doing that. And so we need to secure our border. It is shocking to me that President Biden continues to push the Supreme Court to allow him to repeal once again the Remain in Order. He doesn't want to comply with it, despite the fact that it was effective in keeping people in Mexico until their asylum cases can be heard and they're properly vetted. Now, locally, we have New York City, of course, is sadly a sanctuary city. We continue to protect those who are here illegally committing crimes. In fact, someone who was arrested, a Mexican national who was committing drug trafficking, allegedly fentanyl, here in New York City, was released by a judge back onto the streets. So we need our mayor to appoint good judges to the bench, number one. But we also need to ensure that he fights for changes to the disastrous bail reform in Albany that has led to individuals constantly being put back on the streets despite having dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen prior arrests and convictions. Unfortunately, in New York City in 2021, we saw nearly 500 murders, which is the most we've seen in a decade here in New York City. And categories of crime, everything from shootings to rape to robbery to car thefts, have all skyrocketed. And in fact, it'd be interesting to know that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's home borough of the Bronx is where a third of the shootings took place in New York City, and she is one of the leading advocates of the defund the police movement.
Yeah, this idea of the bail reform, getting these people back out on the street as quickly as possible, I think is not the right way to solve this. And you have to have prosecutors that are actually going to prosecute these crimes. In Los Angeles with District Attorney Gascon, you've seen it as rampant as can possibly be, and the solution ends up just being just absolutely horrendous in terms of its consequences. I want to turn now. Let's listen to Governor Abbott. He was interviewed by Maria Bartiromo, and I want you to listen to this and give me your reaction to it.
The cartels are advertising on TikTok to get drivers to assist in them moving illegal immigrants around the state of Texas. It's an issue that the Texas Department of Public Safety is working to crack down upon, but it shows the extent to which Texas law enforcement officers have to step up and deal with the challenges that are created by the Biden administration importing illegal activity into our country and into our state.
Now, we only have a short amount of time here, but I think you've been talking about this, the crime, COVID, fentanyl, open borders, they all kind of mesh together, but you're left with states like Texas, where Governor Abbott has got his hands full, and the administration is not doing its job. What can you do in Congress to get the administration to actually enforce the laws that are currently on the books?
Well, as you know, those states have taken their fight to court, which is the right thing to do. And that is why the Biden administration has been forced to reinstate the Remain in Mexico. The sad thing is that now they're even fighting to try to get the Supreme Court to revisit it again so they can no longer enforce the Remain in Mexico policy that was clear and was working. The reality is, and this is what I asked on the floor to my colleagues and the President of the United States, whose side are you on? Are you on the side of the drug cartels, or are you on the side of the American people? When you see those numbers out of 18 to 45-year-olds, the leading cause of death is fentanyl, and you know it's streaming over our border, you have a responsibility to do something. And the fact that they go out of their way to continue to allow this illegal migration, which, by the way, this year will total more than the population of the President's home state of Delaware and the Vice President's home city of San Francisco combined. So we have legislation that would permanently put Remain in Mexico into law, but we need to take back the House in order to do it, because Nancy Pelosi will never allow it to the floor under this Congress.